There we go. All right. So, um, still getting over a little bit of a cough. So if I cough throughout the course of this video, then just know that. But anyway, March 7th of this year is going to be a really, really big day. Two major events are happening. First of all, there's a full moon that's going to happen, and then Saturn's changing signs into Pisces. But this video is specifically going to address the full moon in Virgo, which comes about once a year, usually once a year, or if the full moon comes at the beginning of Pisces season, and then there's another full moon at the end of Pisces season, and that can also happen. For example, I think in 2021 there were two full moons in Aquarius. One in July, on the 24th, I think, and then another in August. So, anyway, so this full moon in Virgo is occurring at 16 degrees and 41 minutes of Pisces in Virgo. So you want to look for any planets or points of, and points, when I say that, I mean the ascendant, descendant, midheaven, or even the lunar nodes, so the north node and south node. If you have any of those planets, asteroids such as Ceres, Juno, Vesta, all those asteroids in your chart, or planets or points, or your luminaries, Earth, Sun, and Moon, around 16 degrees of Pisces and Virgo, Sagittarius and Pisces, or Sagittarius and Gemini, which are all the mutable signs, then this full moon is going to have an extra special and potent meaning. And it's going to be time where those big changes and those big issues are really going to come to a head in more profound ways. So it's going to give you an extra special boost of something coming to a head. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But this full moon is occurring at 6:42 a.m. Central Time, and 7:42 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, these are just two time zones. You can convert this to your own time zone using a time zone converter. Say, you live on Pacific time or Mountain time or something like that. So that is when this full moon will be exact. So, a full moon, as I said, is a time when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite one another. They're opposing, and it's a time where the energy is at its highest. It's a time where there's that loudest expression of the fire alarms going off in a hotel room. It's sort of that loud, big, energetic feeling of being on top of the mountain, and now we're at the climax because it is the peak. It is where we're seeing certain issues come to a head, and things are getting illuminated at the full moon that we need to address, and there's certain energy that we need to let out of our systems, based off of certain things that happened at the new moon in Virgo. And then we've had the quarter moon on February 27th in Gemini, so the sun in Pisces, opposite or squaring the moon in Gemini. And then on March 7th, we're going to be having the full moon. At that stage in the lunar cycle where the sun's going to be in Pisces and the moon is going to be in Virgo. So it can lead to endings, but also nuisance at beginnings, and we're sort of preparing the groundwork for those new beginnings. And those aren't going to officially be set until the next new moon. And it's going to be a really special new moon. um, which is going to be on March 21st. It's going to kick off the spring equinox. The sun and moon are going to be conjunct in Aries. And it's great energy for new beginnings, taking advantage, initiating what you want and what you need, going after all those things. And it's certainly going to be very interesting because there's going to be an eclipse on the 20th of April at 29 degrees of the sign of Aries, which is actually a straggler eclipse because it doesn't fall in line with the other eclipses occurring in the signs that the nodes are transiting through. Because currently the North Node is in Taurus, the South Node is in Scorpio, and they're going to change signs in July of this year into Aries and Libra, so eclipses will start happening in those signs. However, there is one straggler happening on April 20th, and that's going to be really intense, and it's going to be a culmination but new beginnings. So various mixed themes of endings and beginnings going on there with the sun and moon conjunct in Aries. But anyway, so it's sort of going to be that sort of the lighting of the match of the eclipses in Aries and Libra. So now, Virgo, Virgo and Pisces. Let's just start talking about these two signs. These two signs mark the health axis in astrology. So Virgo is the mental health. It is also your emotional health. It deals with your routines, the structures that you put in place for yourself to maintain cleanliness and purity. And then Pisces deals with spirituality. So these signs are two opposites. So Mercury rules Virgo, and Virgo as a sign is very analytical. It can really get into the mental space of analyzing and being very practical and logical. It deals with service, but on the physical plane, as opposed to Pisces deals with service on the emotional and spiritual plane. And so it's so fascinating that there's a full moon the same day as Saturn moving into Pisces, because the full moon's happening in Virgo. Virgo is an earth sign. It deals with practicality. It deals with things materializing, results, really getting grounded about what you want to do in your life, getting your feet on the ground and actually taking the practical steps to achieve this. And it's fascinating that there's a synchronicity between this full moon in Virgo and Saturn, which is really earthy in nature, and it deals with structure, and it deals with things getting done and tangibility, and as I say, results and being grounded. And it's moving into Pisces. So both of these two events happening the same day is an invitation for us to ground and legitimize and have a practical and, in a way, rationalizing spirituality, because we need to balance out these two feminine energies of the Virgo expecting things to be perfect in a certain way, but the Pisces is all about surrendering that as well. It's all about I may not be perfect, but I am enough. And I think that looking in the mirror and saying I am enough and accepting yourself for who you are is going to be huge at this time. And I also think that there's a prayer called the Serenity Prayer, and I occasionally bring this up when I talk about um, lunations or lunar events happening in Virgo. So I'll probably bring this up with a new moon in Virgo or a full moon in Virgo or an eclipse, either a solar or lunar eclipse in Virgo, There's that serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. And where we can do so much to improve our lives, because Virgo is about conscious improvement, it is about work, it is about um, improving ourselves and being humble of where we may be lacking, and it deals with how perfectionism or self-improvement can be a good thing, and it is about it's very um, relatable energy to chop wood, carry water, and the principle that you do your daily routines, wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, have breakfast, all those little things, those little details about you that really define who you are in huge ways and say a lot about you. So Virgo invites you to um, look at that aspect of your life. It deals with the sixth house of work and service in your daily life. And Pisces is about spirituality. It is about coming to a sense of being inside of you, of compassion. It is about marveling at the white bookshelf with those books on it and then escaping into other lands, because it deals with the ethereal. It deals with imagination not being grounded. It is really disorganized of a sign, and Saturn moving into Pisces is going to bring order to chaos in a way, or really make clear the chaos of Pisces, of the waters of Pisces, for the next 2.5 years. So in a way, this video and the content of this video overlaps with Saturn changing signs. But Pisces deals with soul health. It deals with self-care in terms of the spiritual practices, such as a couple of them is self-love, practicing self-care, physical self-care, but especially spiritual self-care. And it's important to bring that into your life around this time. Um, Pull out your oracle cards, divination cards, and connect to the divine in that kind of way. With because oracle cards are conversations to spirit. You can communicate with spirit in those kind of ways. Another practice is meditation, where you can not only ground your mind, ground yourself and your body, and be present. And it can get rid of the anxiety or stress that you have, or alleviate it. But it can also you can also connect to the divine in greater ways. Connect to your higher power. And Pisces is about the higher power. It is about the fact that we're not just operating on the 3D level. We're not just operating from our human selves. We're not just human doings, but we're also human beings as well. And so, because of this, we're here on behalf of spirit, and we are connected to the trees, to the animals, to everyone and everything around us, even though our egos may say and think that we may be separate. And the ego and the soul, such a huge topic. I think that may be a future video idea that I may do. I'll be sure to write that down sometime. Um, but it deals with Pisces deals with that sense of compassion and that sense of um, oneness, because Virgo can be rational and all those kind of things, but Pisces is emotional. It does deal with that, uh, dealing with that empathy there. So Virgo and Pisces, that's, really what it is. Forgiveness is another thing, release is another thing with Pisces. and illuminating this full moon will probably illuminate the flaws that we have and the things that are wrong with us, and see where we need to improve, see where we need to be easier on ourselves, not criticize ourselves, and maybe reframe some of that negative talk that we have going on inside our minds, and to move to the observation, quarter, and see where we criticizing ourselves, where are we talking down to ourselves, and where do we need to have a greater sense of self-love for ourselves. And so not only is the sun opposing the moon, but we also have the sun sextile Uranus. The sextiles, they're a positive energy. Things go well with the sextile, but it is, in short, an invitation for us to take action with the positive energy. It deals with an opportunity of a door that we can open for greater fulfillment and evolution. And so we have the sun um, in in sextile with Uranus. And another thing I'll say about the moon in Virgo is because the moon is, there was an astrologer, Michael Lennox, who does weekly podcasts of the weekly astrology. He also does segments on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube on Red Robe Astrology, and you can check those out. And he described the sun being our conscious awareness and the moon being our unconscious impulses. And maybe the moon in Virgo is self-criticism. But maybe on the other hand, the positive side of that is nurturing someone from a very practical point of view. Virgo deals with service. It deals with helping others. I'm, recommending this source. I'm giving you this advice. I'm trying to improve your life in helpful in practical ways. And Virgo genuinely and humbly has the desire to serve. Um, and now's the time to reach out and serve ourselves and others. Um, there's a saying, there's a commercial, I think a little mantra, little jingle, get help, get hope. And so Pisces can be at worst, victim state, victim consciousness kind of thing. And that's something that, we'll really get into with Saturn and Pisces. But, Virgo is about the, help, and it does deal about, the Virgo Pisces axis is about help, self-help, the self-help axis. So, and Virgo is practical, as I say again. So, moving on to the sun sextile Uranus. So the sun is conscious awareness, as I said before. It deals with how we want to present ourselves, how we want to put ourselves out there and really direct our lives. And Uranus is our natal chart relates to how we want to liberate ourselves and get outside of the box. And so Uranus in the sun, so the sun's in Pisces, Uranus is in Taurus, and when we have a sextile going on, we have one planet or luminary, asteroid, point, whatever, and in either Earth, water, that's one pairing. The second pairing is air and fire. So we have the sun in Pisces, Uranus in Taurus. Pisces is water, Uranus, Taurus is earth, so that would be a sextile. And Uranus deals with liberation. And it deals with sudden realizations of what you need to change. Sudden, revolutions of something happening totally out of the blue and totally unexpectedly. It deals with a radical departure from this world and an invitation to suddenly wake up pack our bags and then move somewhere else and start a new life and do something different. And it is a time where we can do something different and try something new with the sun sextile Uranus and be free to liberate ourselves. Breaking off from our limitations is a theme of where we've been limited in, work relationships, conditioning in our lives, and now it's time to break free of that and be authentic and show more of our unique, quirky selves, and also try something new where we genuinely want to feel this empowered energy to then suddenly be something different and not really care what others think, because Uranus deals with not caring what others think. It deals with um, being out of the box and genuinely being who we want to be, and marching to the beat of our own drum. And that may be a calling, and we may feel a sense of that, we're in, that we're moving in the right direction, and an inner sense of fulfillment or peace, or, this is right and this is the direction that I need to go in with this particular aspect. Now, the moon is also forming a harmonious trine to Uranus. And so the moon is free. It deals, as I said, with emotion. It is partially how you want to be taken care of and how you also take care of others. It deals with our deepest, most innate emotional needs and the real part of ourselves. It's about our innermost part of ourselves that genuinely wants care and to be nurtured and seen and understood. And it's also how we need to feel at peace with ourselves. And the moon trining Uranus is how we can feel more at peace with ourselves in this case is, expressing our feelings and expressing ourselves uninhibitedly, number one, and number two, doing something different and out of the box that is emotionally sort of gravitating, that we feel called to do. Um, and it's also an energy where taking a chance on something new, taking advantage of an impulse, acting on it from a place of doing it where we're wise and aware of it, and we can act on impulse. But because it's a trine, it's an easier energy where that can really serve us, as opposed to backfire on us or put us in trouble, like we would have the moon square Uranus. Squares are more difficult, tense aspects, and so that would be a little bit different there. But when we do something new, go somewhere new, put on dress in a new way, or change up how we go throughout our sixth house area of life, which is our routines, or we, even something small as making a new dish, or rearranging our house, or reading something new, especially studying something new, um, and having a plan of something different that we want to do, and feeling that right sense of, I want to do this and I want to take advantage and I want to act on this. And so this can also lead to just feelings of being aware of disruption and chaos, where that disruption and change and chaos is something new, um, will be favorable for us at that time, with Uranus and Taurus changing up our value system, and maybe doing something in terms of self-improvement, um, self-help, health, and our daily routines, in a different way, especially, cooking or planting, which are very practical earthy things, because the Virgo Taurus, and Virgo Taurus deals with the earth, it deals with sensuality, it deals with things being holy, um, and rocks, trees, all the riches and jewels of Mother Nature. So maybe great time to experiment on new foods, or to plant new seeds in a garden for your tomato or crops for the summer. Even the new moons are about planting new seeds. Maybe a good thing you could do to utilize this energy. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to this video, and I really hope you enjoy this full moon. Bye for now.